Hey, how's it going, guys? Ancient Rune here, back with another Once Human build video, and today I'll be going over my Last Valor build. This is a top tier bossing weapon, taking advantage of Shrapnel as well as crit rate, and because of its great single target, you can still mob pretty well, as it's just killing enemies fast. But my go-to would be monolith or just speeding through silos to get to the specific mini bosses. This version is focused on staying at high HP instead of the low HP meta, as it's something I don't enjoy and like being able to take some hits. So with that, you will see my overall DPS being lower than others, but still more than viable to clear content easily. But despite that, I will still mention some options for low HP with lunar mods and other gear, as well as being able to take advantage of downstar mods and the related Starfall version tech. I also want you to keep in mind the damage I am showing is not peak for my build, as I am still farming for even better rolls, but everything with the base build itself works amazing, so you can hit even better results than me. Now let's get into it. Alright, and here we have the guns. Hitting an enemy 4 times triggers shrapnel. Crit hits count as 2 hits for that. Then crit hits also grant +1 shrapnel trigger times for 1 second, and then we also get 30% shrapnel crit damage. Now, what is shrapnel? Well, this is when you hit an enemy, deal 60% attack as weapon damage to a different random part of the enemy. The element type is the same as the weapon's element, so this is no element, so we don't have to worry about that. And then the additional damage can crit, can strike weak spots, and will decay with distance, just like bullets do. Then we have the damage formula, 60%, which is his attack, and then the shrapnel damage factor bonus, and then the shrapnel final damage bonus. So what we're looking for is shrapnel damage, crit damage, and weapon damage, as well as attack boost for the most part. Then for the calibration, we have 2 options. First, we have precision style, which increases attack and range. This range is good, especially if you have bosses that are a little farther away than you, and you just have more attack for a little less fire rate. And then we have the double crit rate. We also have option of rapid shot style, which gives increased fire rate and reload speed, but less attack. For a single mag, I found rapid shot styles a lot better. But if you are going for overall DPS, then the precision style beats a little bit more. So I would probably go with precision style, or you can have 2 different ones. Like if you're close up to an enemy, then rapid shot could be better. Where if you have enemies farther away, then precision style can be better for that range. Then for the accessories, I like to go the large break for the increased accuracy. Then we get the compact reflex sight that increases stability. Then for the grip, we have a couple options. We have the tactical laser sight, which gives more accuracy. We have light front grip, which gives increased stability. Then we also have elite vertical grip, which gives a mix of ability and stability. So like that, we have 7 less accuracy than if we went tactical laser sight, but we get 12 more stability, which I like a lot. And then if you wanted to go all in on stability instead of accuracy, you could go with the tactical combine grip for the 22 stability increase. And you also have the compact infrared indicator, which increased stability, but you could probably ignore the compact infrared indicator and the light front grip in favor of the tactical combine grip. Then for the mag, I'd say there's 2 options. You've got the extended rifle mag for the increased magazine capacity, and then we also have the light rifle mag for the increased reload speed instead. What's good about this increased mag size is because of a mod we have where we don't want to reload, or at least wait longer to reload, so we have this damage bonus more often. And we can't use stuff like quick comeback to reset it, but you could still use quick comeback, so you don't have to worry about the less reload speed as much. And then for the ammo, I go the smart rifle ammo for the increased attack after triggering shrapnel. And then of course you have the other ones like phantasmal, we have suppression, penetration, and peregrine all being options. And then for the secondary, we have a couple options. First off, we have the bingo, as this will trigger bullseye on the first hit after swapping weapons, and this is its biggest strength here. You also have the 70% chance to trigger the bullseye upon hitting a weak spot, as well as increased weak spot damage for 10 seconds up to 4 stacks. Now what it doesn't say is when you swap, it halves these stacks, so you're actually only getting 50% at max for weak spot damage, and then you don't have to worry about this attack down here because it doesn't work on swap. And we also have the 70% chance to trigger bullseye when hitting a weak spot, but since we're already hitting it on our first swap over, this part doesn't matter as much. Then we also have the recurve crossbow. If you got to open weak spot, I would definitely go this, as after hitting a weak spot, you will inflict bullseye, and then you'll also cause all weapons to have increased crit rate by 15% versus the target with bullseye. Then our last option we have is the wildfire, 60% chance to trigger a bullseye when hitting a target. So if you want to hit an enemy multiple times, this will have a chance to do that, and they also would not have a weak spot, but I just find bingo to be better, as you can just swap to it, shoot, and then swap away, and you will have that bullseye applied. Now, what bullseye is a damage boost where enemies will be highlighted, and those highlighted enemies will suffer from vulnerability for 12 seconds, and this is an 8% damage boost. Then for the melee weapon, we are going the Kukri. This cannot be gotten via blueprint. You can only get this through content that gives items, so you'll want to look out for that. What this does is defeating a target grants all weapons increased attack and crit rate for 10 seconds. It also gives PSI intensity and restores HP with PSI intensity, but this part doesn't matter as much. And how we can take advantage of that is going to be with these sticky ice crystals. What you will do is you will throw one down, and then you will hold your weapon and then hold down for melee, and then this will count as an enemy attack for this damage boost down here. And how you'll get it is from the ice spot deviation from the Endless Dreams or Way of Winter scenario. Now for the deviations, we have two options. First, we have the Lone Wolf. This will be good because it'll also have aggro draw as well as increase our weapon damage. Weapon damage is the main thing, but the aggro draw is really nice. So you'll want to get this. You could also get the one that helps with low HP, gives a little bit more weapon damage, and that will be good for low HP version of this. But otherwise, you can just do the regular Lone Wolf. Now, if you have something the Lone Wolf can't hit, then you will have the Zap Cam with the auto photograph, which will increase the weapon damage enemies receive by 43.2%. So they're both the same, but it's just based off if you can hit or not. And this giving aggro draw helps be competitive with the Zap Cam, as you could just have this on your back at all times. But that aggro draw is really helpful if you've got stuff that can hit you. Now, before we go into the gear, if you have found this helpful so far, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more Once Human content, and consider becoming a member to support the channel and get videos early. So for the key gear, we are going the Gas Tight Helmet. This will increase max shrapnel target parts by 1, as well as giving increased shrapnel damage by 150%. Other people have compared the other shrapnel stuff you can do. I don't know if I've even got them unlocked, but basically the other shrapnel gear just wasn't worth it compared to this. Then for the gear sets, what I go is the 3-piece Lone Wolf and the 2-piece Savior Top. We have the Lone Wolf for increased mag size, crit rate, main thing being crit rate, but we also get crit damage, which is really nice. And then we also have the Savior Top for the medicine cooldown haste, and then the increased weapon damage by 10%. Now, the main reason I like to go the Savior Top is for that medicine cooldown, and we just get weapon damage on top of it. Now, if you're going low HP, you will want to look at Treacherous set, where you can get increased weapon damage based off of how low your health is. So with this, if you go 3-piece set, you can get up to 50%, and then with 2-piece set, you can get 12% weapon damage, which is all really good. So you could go 3-piece Treacherous and then 2-piece Lone Wolf, so you still get that crit rate. So that crit rate is the main thing. Or if you don't want to go that low HP, you can go the two-piece treacherous for a little bit more weapon damage than the savior. Then you could go three-piece lone wolf, but getting that lower HP will be better. I also messed with Bastille for the increased weapon damage here, but the DPS just wasn't worth it compared to what I could get with the three-piece Lone Wolf instead of just two-piece, so I definitely just worry about that there. And then for the hide on your mask, I go the Golden Bull as it's just really easy to have. Weapon damage and status damage as a total of 12%, changing between them every second. So it's not constant, but it's still a bonus. You could also go Starfall Cowhide, where you get the 8% weapon damage when stamina is 120 or higher. And this effect doubles while airborne, so you will definitely get more damage with this. But if you're moving around a lot, dodging attacks, then you'll have lower stamina, and this won't be as good. You also have all the other type of cowhides that you could look into and possibly use if you wanted to. All right, and now we're going to go into the mod passives. First, we're going to have the weapon. Note I said weapon and not mask. I'll go over that later. But for the weapon, we are going Shrapnel. This is going to give us increased shrapnel damage here. And then we're going to look for the shrapnel crit damage, which will help a lot. And then we have the damage to elites, great ones, or normal. Since I like to use this mainly for bossing with the monolith, I would go great ones, but if you're also using this for silos, get to the end bosses, then elite will also help a lot. And then for the mask mod, we go with violent because we actually aren't going a shrapnel mask mod. We are actually going targeted strike and for that increased crit rate, and I'll go over more of that later. But with this, you will be looking at the violent suffix, as this will give the increased crit damage, and then you have weapon damage and then the against X type bonuses here. Then if you're going low HP for the helmet and the chest, you will go lunar, which will have increased crit damage and weapon damage compared to the basic stuff, as well as the against X enemies. Then if you want to take advantage of the Starfall inversion stuff, we have on the pants and the boots the Downstar mods, which will also give increased crit damage and weapon damage when airborne. So that is just better than the base violent, as it has the base stats. You'll see 15% and 6%, and then 15% and 6% here. So that's why we'd go here. So if you can get a good one, this is just better. But if you just have a good violent, then you can just stick to that. And then we have the least great ones or normals again. And then to take advantage of any Downstar stuff, we have the gravity neutralizer, which will allow you to stay in midair when you jump. Now, the Starfall inversion event, of course, just happened, so I can't have a good height showcase. But basically, you will activate it, and then you can jump, and then you can hold in the air like this, or you can just not press jump again, and you can just hold the ADS like this, or the over the shoulder like this, and you are still airborne. And then, if you don't want to use any of that, or just for the gloves and mask, we'll go back to the violent with the increased crit damage, and then weapon damage, and then the against X enemy types. Now, for the weapon mod, we are going Shrapnel Smash. This will give increased crit rate for Shrapnel when triggering Shrapnel. So this gives up to 30% crit rate, which is a lot. So this is very helpful to have. And now it won't give your bullets crit rate, but still just your shrapnel's the main damage, so that's nice. For the secondary, I go Vulnerable Amplifier, as this will give increased vulnerability with Bullseye. So instead of 8%, it is 16%. And then for the melee weapon, I just have Melee Amplifier, just increases the melee damage. There's nothing else to have on here that would help. Then for the helmet, I like to go Momentum Up, as we gain increased fire rate and weapon damage. Both of these are really good bonuses. You also have other options like Weapon Symphony, so if you're switching weapons a lot, then the increased fire rate and weapon damage here will be really good. It just decreases by 10% per second up to maximum of 60% increase. So that's something to keep in mind. And then if you don't have a lot of weak spot damage, you could also just go Fateful Strike, as will gain increased crit rate and crit damage. You can still strike weak spots for stuff that we have here, like Bullseye here, or the recurve crossbow. It's just in your stats page, you'll see you now have 0% weak spot damage. And then for the mask mod, we are going targeted strike. When hitting marked enemies, crit rate and crit damage is increased. This crit rate is the main thing, and this is just worth it over going a different mask mod. Like we have Shrapnel weak spot hit weight, which doesn't really matter. Then you still have explosive Shrapnel, with the 20th Shrapnel is explosive and deals 30% damage as a critical hit. This could be potentially good with mobbing, but for bossing, it's not really worth it from what I've been told. I do have one that I have not messed with too much, but this is still an option if you have this made already and will work fine. But this crit rate is just so helpful, especially since I mainly just use this during times that I will mark enemies. For the top, there really isn't a wrong answer. I like to go quick comeback. If I don't feel like reloading, I can just activate a healing shot. Or if I'm going to use a healing shot anyways, this will just refill my magazine. And since I have high HP, I'm going to be using it plenty of times. But you also have rejuvenating that you could use with the kills recover 15% lost HP. Or you could use something like Ardent Shield, where you gain increased damage reduction while you have a shield active. Then for the pants, we're going Deadshot. Each crit hit by non-melee weapons grants plus 5% crit damage up to 45%, and then the effect is removed upon the next reload. And this is apparently isn't negated by quick comeback like you have with Reload Rampage. So that's something to keep in mind, but this crit damage is very much worth it. Then for the gloves, we are going to go crit boosters. This will give us a lot of increased crit damage. You could also go the crit amplifier, which gives some increased crit damage, but just having the crit rate is so much better here. That extra 5% will go a long way. And then for the boots, we have Covered Advance, which gives 20% weapon damage after taking no damage for 4 seconds, and this lasts for 30 seconds. So if you take damage from those 4 seconds, it will go back to counting up to 4 seconds. But if you get hit during that 30 seconds, it will not reset as it's already activated. And now for the Cradle. First, we have Anti-Void, where we gain increased damage with rifles, as well as dealing more damage against void enemies. Then we have Aerial Suppression for increased damage reduction while airborne. We have Rapid Aid, which will decrease our medicine cooldown. We have Tactical Combo, which gains increased weapon damage after switching weapons or reloading, which is really good. We have Deviant Energy Defense, which grants us a shield, which also gives us damage reduction. Then we have Tactical Leap, which grants increased damage while airborne. Now, this will apply to all elements, not just deviants, and you don't have to be airborne to use this. You just have to be airborne to stack it, which is really nice. Then we have Deadly Combo. After triggering a bullet effect like Shrapnel, then we will gain increased effect of that type. So we gain increased Shrapnel damage. You also do have an option of Marked Strike, gain increased weak spot damage against targets marked with Bullseye. I don't take it over just having this damage reduction here, but this is also something you could do, especially if you have a boss that gets a lot of weak spot strikes done. But then we also have Invincible Strike, which when dealing weak spot damage, shrapnel damage and shrapnel crit damage is increased up to 10 stacks. When fully stacked, shrapnel damage loss due to distance is decreased. So you still want to hit weak spots on this build. It's just not always the go-to. Even if you have, say, Fateful Strike here, you would still want to hit weak spots. And then with the food, first off, we have our go-to, the mixed fried hot dog. Gain increased damage towards enemies affected by the bullseye. This is damage boost against X enemies, so this is really nice to go to have. Now, if you don't use this, or you have the chef class like me and can use the second thing, you have a couple options. You can get bone and deviated sausage for increased damage against bosses. You also have the Stargazy Pie, which you gain increased crit damage by 25% when your energy is full. You have Crumbly Bread, which gains increased weapon damage. And then we have Ginger Poppers, which will gain increased shrapnel damage. My go-to is the mixed fried hot dog and bone-in deviated sausage. Partial reason is just because it's really easy to make, but it's just good damage boost. And then for the drink, there really isn't anything that will help, except for the Stardust Energy Drink if you're doing Downstar, and this also just helps with movement in general, so this is all I take here. Anything else you do here will just be nice quality of life stuff. Alright, and now we have the Playstyle. So first you're going to want to make sure you have all your buffs active. I do not because I just don't. You mainly just want that food buff active as well as the gravity neutralizer ready. And then you're going to bring out your deviant and get it targeted to the enemy. Then we're going to throw out our sticky ice crystal and then do that. And then use whatever secondary and then jump to gain that. And we just start doing damage here. And then with all my buffs, I usually see over 100k DPS, and a lot of my bonuses are towards great ones, and this is just normal, so this DPS isn't accurate to really what damage I do. I hope you guys enjoyed the build video. If you have any questions or suggestions for improvements, make sure to comment them down below. This isn't the best with mobbing as it doesn't have any good tricks, but it's still good, and there are still plenty of other mobbing guns you can use, especially ones that use to save deviants, so you can just do some like gear swapping if you want to with the loadout, and so that's something I do sometime. But I really like this for bosses with like Manabis or Treant. Those are my favorite to use this on, but everything else still works really well with this. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more Once Human content, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.